Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, Christmas. We had a fantastic day for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Um, it was just filled with the most amazing laughter and gift giving and just joyous days. It was just amazing. The kids, oh, the grandkids. I'll tell you, there's nothing like it. There's nothing in the world like it, you know, especially with the little one. She's 6 months old now and she's crawling all over the place. she, she got into everything. Oh my goodness. Everything was hers. Everything was hers. It was wonderful. But I did all the cooking. Yes, I did all the cooking for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Yeah, for 3 days. It was crazy, but it was wonderful. Um, my daughter-in-law and my son, they hosted, but I did all the cooking. But I hope your holiday, your Christmas was as wonderful as ours. Um, Now on to the new year. Okay. But with that being said, I have this wonderful email from a community member, and he said it's a gift, and with that, it is a gift. So this is what he says: My gift is give to thee from He who is always with me. It's the perfect gift, a gift that not only gives, but takes away as well. Gives hope, takes away hopelessness, gives love, takes away loneliness. You see, it's a gift that once it was started, there is no ending. It lasts forever. Even if the reader or the listeners refuse it, it cannot end, for I have already given it to others that have taken and extended it to others. The first giver was the one who gave from the wood of the crutch to the wood of the cross, the true tree of life, so to speak. A parable not taught by even the most educated of Bible scholars, yet in its simplicity encompasses a mirror of a miracle. Today, a seed was planted, conception, hence the reason why abortion is such a big topic in today's society. Everything good is evil. Everything evil is good. If you spend 15 years doing the math, digging through the Bible, you will find the same conclusions of calendars and time frames using the old scriptures, even prior to the culmination of the Bible, as it is written today in 66 books. Christ was conceived on December 25th. A perfect birth, 40 weeks, put Christ being born around September 29th to the 30th, starting at about 6 p.m. Jerusalem time, as biblical time frame is referenced. Mental note: Noah on the ark, 40 days, 40 nights. Moses wandered for 40 years, etc., etc. This isn't up for debate, nor is it for argument. But frankly, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. These were all recountable facts recorded throughout history and then later on culminated in what we call the Bible today. Stories even handed down by my ancestors, second son of Noah, the native way. Why do you think they wanted to get rid of us? In any event, I send my deepest Christ brotherly love to each and every one of you. My prayers to the ones who hear these words. May God bless and keep you all. Thank you so much, Dan. You always have a way with words, and I thank you so much. I really do. I really enjoyed this. And he said, Merry Christmas to everyone. May God put you where you need to be, talk to whom you need to see, and Show the direction to those that are lost. Listen to those who are lonely. Help those that are hopeless. Feed them whom are starving. Shelter those that are exposed to their own evil or scared surroundings. Be a blinding lighthouse to the world and a candle to those around you. And when needed, be an even brighter lighthouse to those close to you. Do it in and for Christ's name's sake. Then he has commanded, teach each others to do the same. For today, as the seed planted, let yourself grow in him as he grows in you. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much for this. Wow, I have goosebumps. Okay, so here are some videos that I'm going to share with you, all right? And the first one is that there's apparently, allegedly, let me just say that because I'm not there on the farmland to know firsthand knowledge. Farmland for sale? Yeah.
One of the biggest wealth transfers that has ever occurred in our nation's history has begun, and you are probably not even aware it's happening. According to the Farmer's Almanac, approximately $24 trillion in real estate assets are slated to transfer over the next 20 years. With the average farmer in America being over the age of 60 right now, they are tired, they are retiring, they are getting out of the business of farming because they physically can no longer do it. So $24 trillion in property value, land, timberland, barns, going to be up for sale now. It's happening right now. I'm a first generation farmer. I just had this Amish built barn put on this 6.74 acres of farmland this year. And I've talked to a lot of the farmers in this area. These farmers, they do not want to sell out. Like, they don't want to sell their farms to Wall Street. They don't want to sell their farms to these massive conglomerate corporations. But sometimes they are left with no choice. For them to be able to get out and pay their bills, sometimes they have to just go with whoever happens to be there willing to pay. It is much better for you and me and for the environment if everyday people like me buy this farmland as opposed to these corporations. I post about it all here. I talk about how I got a loan for this land through Farm Credit East. There's also the USDA. There's also seller financing. There's also just approaching these people. They want to hear from you. If this land gets into the wrong hands, I don't know if I want to find out. If you are feeling the call to buy a farm, start a homestead, start growing even some of your food, now is the time. A land revolution is upon us.
Now, here's something. You know how you say, oh, I could feel it. It's in the air. It's something going on, or as Phil Collins liked to say, I can feel it coming. Do-dum, 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 doom, doom, doom.
Does anybody else here get the feeling that reality is slipping away from them? I mean, in the last couple of weeks, we've had UFOs everywhere. We've had NASA and Google confirm, oh yeah, by the way, guys, there are parallel universes. Quantum computers. The Americans are on about doing the French Revolution, which wasn't on my bingo card for them. As far as I could tell, they were extremely compliant, their capitalist overlords, up until this point. And it makes me wonder, what else is next? Are we going to find out that Harry Potter wasn't a work of fiction? Are ghosts going to be something I need to take seriously now? Am I going to wake up tomorrow morning having time travelled to the year 836? And have to deal with Saxons and Vikings and whatnot? It feels like anything is possible, and not in a good way. That's what it feels like at the moment. Reality has become extremely ambiguous. I guess I'll just focus on my painting, just getting through the day. And just sort of, like Bruce Lee said, be like water, go with the flow. I can't control any of this. I'm just going to try and enjoy the ride.
What is the Statue of Liberty? to you in your mind's eye, what is the story that you remember? That it was given to us by the French and this, that, and the other, right? Yeah. Listen to this, because we were not given the right story.
The Illuminati identify with Lucifer, and that is their huge idol dedicating this country to him and showing that they rule here.
And this is hidden in the Statue of Liberty.
Freemasonry will become embedded in the American culture, and the eye will appear on the banknotes. These principles will be honored with a gift from your French brethren.
This is the statue we are giving you.
It's a bit small, isn't it?
Oh, this is a maquette. The real thing is bigger. Much, much bigger. I call her Liberty Enlightening the World.
Lucifer literally means the light bearer, okay? So for the Statue of Liberty, you have the torch representing light and enlightenment.
Can you tell us a little more about the symbolism in the Statue of Liberty?
Absolutely. If you look at the radiant crown, she has these 7 horns sticking out of her head. That's symbolic of the sun, representing enlightenment.
Isn't enlightenment a good thing?
Enlightenment is a good thing to them. It doesn't represent America. It doesn't represent freedom. It represents Lucifer.
The Statue of Liberty actually is a symbol of Lucifer.
Okay, so who here backs the blue? Right on. I've got right here. See that? It's a little badge. It's my husband's. He got it when he graduated from the police academy. I found this and I was like, oh dear God. So that one conversation that I had with that one of you, okay, she was right. And I'm sorry that I said, no, I don't think so. You were right. Yeah. Watch.
Every city police force in the United States is United Nations. I built the City of Bend Police Department building, and on the blueprints there were 2 locker rooms. And both rooms were identical. But when I built the City of Bend Police Department building, I had to build 2 locker rooms. And I said, how come? Because this one's filled with the duty uniforms, and this one's filled with their United Nations uniforms. If you look at State House Department publication 6227, written in 1961, it's an order from the United Nations to tell the police departments to begin to find ways to confiscate our firearms. The foreign nation has to work through our State Department. So all the police get instructed from the State Department. We found this out in Houston, Texas, when the floods happened a few years ago, and the City of Houston Police Department had to put on blue uniforms. There's warehouses all over this country with UN
vehicles,
ATACs, assault vehicles in them, all over this country, that the chief of police has access to. He can't touch it until the United Nations tells him he has to.
licensing departments, whether it's zoning, buildings, housing will be impacted by it, planning certainly, and you pick the people to run those agencies and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the New World Order and good governance, and then I think you have the Inspector General.
So before I go, wise words from a very wise man, one of my favorite presidents of all times. Ciao, y'all.
When you and I were boys back in the Midwest,
right,
governments, federal, state, and local, were only taking about 15 cents out of every dollar earned. Today, they're taking almost half of every dollar earned in the United States. And most people don't realize it because the taxes are hidden in the so-called business taxes. You know, the politician that stands up and yells, oh, let's save the little man, let's tax business, and everybody yells hooray. But they haven't figured out that every tax on business is just a part of the cost of production. And the customer winds up paying it when he buys the product. It's a hidden sales tax. There's 116 of them in the suit of clothes that each one of us is wearing.
Suppose a lot of economists have suggested, and I don't know that it'll ever come to be in this country, that if they closed all of the loopholes and corporations and maybe tax loopholes and even on the rich certain loopholes and made a percentage income and made a flat fee without all of the deductions, that the government might raise as much money as they do now.
Oh, sure. And really, the loopholes, this has been overdone by the politicians, too.
No.
The bulk of the money that is taken by what are called loopholes are the legitimate deductions with which, if the people didn't have them, they couldn't pay their income tax. Interest on their mortgage, interest on the installments on their car, their property taxes on their home, if they have one, and so forth. These are, in politicians' eyes, loopholes. But we ought to have tax reform, and we ought to start by making it so simple that you don't have to hire a lawyer to find out how much you owe every year.
That's for sure. It used to be a little simplified, but not anymore.
Johnny, we live in the only country in the world where it takes more brains to figure out your income tax than it does to earn the income.
Maybe you're right.
We've gotten in the habit over the last 40 years of thinking the government has the answers. There's very little that government can do as efficiently and as economically as the people can do themselves. And if government would shut the doors and sneak away for about 3 weeks, we'd never miss them. Our biggest problem is that we have built a permanent structure of government, federal, state, and local. The permanent employees, and they've come to the place that they actually determine policy in this country more than does the Congress of the United States. Mm-hmm. There are 14.5 million public employees in the United States. That's quite a voting bloc. And the bureaus and agencies, now in Washington, I heard you talking earlier about some of the research programs. Mm-hmm. What would you say if I told you about a study in which this was called the demography of happiness? And in this study, the government found out that young people are happier than old people. And they found out that people that earn more are happier than people that earn less. And they found out that well people are happier than sick people.
That's good. Well, that's
this was $249,000 to find out it's better to be rich, young, and healthy than old, poor, and sick. A poll was taken recently that found out that only 46% of the people in the poll could name their United States congressman. But what was worse, 86% of those who could name him couldn't tell you a single thing that he represented or stood for.
They just knew that he represented the state. But
he was a congressman, but what's he doing while he's up there? And the same is true at the local levels of government and all the rest. But
so you're saying people really have to take an active interest, and you have to have citizen action groups locally and
let them know. See, the special interest groups. Now, the special interest groups aren't, as everyone thought, big, powerful business interests or something that are going to persuade government to do things. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone with less influence today in government than business. They're just a convenient whipping boy. But it's the groups that have got a particular axe to grind. You can't have a power plant because it might interfere with the seagulls. Now, I think I'm an environmentalist. And I do not agree with those people way over on the edge who pave the whole country over in the name of progress. But also, I don't like those on the other extreme that won't let you build a house unless it looks like a bird's nest. Someplace in the middle, we got to allow people our ecology too.
Right.
Well, this kind of group, and they want their particular program. Hundreds of dollars have been added to the cost of an automobile, putting gadgets on it to clear up the air. We're the only country in the world that's set out to do it that way. when budget deficits are what's causing inflation, I don't see that there's any room to be on either side of that argument.
Yeah,
I think the answer to curing inflation is a balanced budget.
Now, how do you do that? I mean, how do you balance the budget?
Well, balancing the budget is like protecting
You don't
your
spend more than you take in, right?
No, it's like protecting your virtue. You have to learn to say no.
There's got to be another way. What's the second option?
Well, no, there's some ways that this could be brought about. First of all, that limitation. Here's another one. Why shouldn't we have, in addition to a simplified income tax, why shouldn't we also have a law that says that any time a legislator or a congressman introduces a spending program, he has to introduce with it a tax program to pay for it? Then let the people find out. There was a woman that, from a financial firm that was back at the President's Economic Council, and her words weren't quoted. Everybody else's words got in the paper, all the Hellers and the Galbraiths and all the so-called economists. And I have a degree in economics, so I can say this. I think an economist is someone who has a Phi Beta Kappa key on one end of his watch chain and no watch on the other. This woman said that you go to the polls and you ask the people, do they want some social service, some program that government can give? And the people in the polls are apt to read and say, hey, that sounds good, yeah. Mm-hmm. But she says that isn't exactly accurate. She says put a $100 bill in each person's hand and then show them the program and say, now, isn't that a nice program? Do you want it? Give me the $100. And she says, see what the poll says then, and how many people hang on to the $100 instead of the program.
In other words, if it's rather hidden and someone doesn't know exactly where it's going to come from.
All the government programs start $1 down and we'll catch you later. And they multiply all of those things that you were... The Office of Management and Budget in Washington, that's responsible for the budget, putting the budget together, cannot even tell you how many boards, commissions, agencies, bureaus, and departments there are in the federal government. Yeah. But all of them can pass regulations. And those regulations have the force of law. And the difference is, when you break the law, you're innocent until proven guilty. When you break a regulation, the fellow that charges you with breaking the regulation, you're guilty. Right. And if you want to take him to court and prove you're innocent, that's up to you. Right. And all of these are things that yes, we can trim the budget. There's enough fat in the federal government that if you rendered it, you could wash the world. Maybe it's time for realignment between people who might find themselves in the wrong parties. Maybe there are some people still voting. I was a Democrat most of my life. I became a Republican only not too many years ago. And I had the pleasure of telling some of those people that are saying the Republican Party ought to broaden its base the other day that when I switched parties, I didn't do it because the two parties were alike. I did it because they were different. Right. And I think that the two parties ought to stand up as to what they represent, what